Hey everybody, I'm Steven, and I'm about to go see Alita Battle Angel. I will catch you after the credits.
You told me the story of the war, when the ground shook and the sky burned. Of the ones that survived, who awoke to a different world, where the powerful prey on the weak. But that's not the way it has to be.
So I just got out from seeing Alita Battle Angel, and I had a feeling I would at least somewhat like this movie. I thought the trailers looked good, and with James Cameron in the director's chair, he is the people's director. Very few things he's done have gone out and people haven't enjoyed. And I'm kind of right there with everybody. Terminator, Terminator 2, Aliens. I liked, I believe it was The Abyss, okay. I never saw Avatar, but people love that movie, at least when it came out. Visually, anyway. And Titanic splits some people, but overall I think people genuinely have positive feelings toward Titanic. And I am also one of those people, especially for the historical side of it. The love story is just kind of a love story in that movie, and it's so tragic and sad, and this movie is definitely trying just to be a cool action movie, set up a franchise, series, whatever they want to do with it, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Some of what helps it is the acting, Christoph Waltz, and I can't remember his last name, but the guy who plays
a girl called Alita.
He was in Green Book and Luke Cage. Good year for him so far. Although Green Book might have technically been... Was that 2018? No, that must have been this year. I don't know. Regardless, good movies for him. And he technically, in some ways, plays two characters in this movie, which I'm not going to get too heavily into because that gets into spoilers. But it's cool. It's a cool movie. The actress who plays Alita is enjoyable. I know Cassie, I didn't take her to see this movie with me because she didn't have a lot of interest, partially just based off of her look. And it is a little weird. Her big eyes and smooth face and kind of small mouth make her look somewhere between creepy and adorable, and it is a little weird seeing it the whole time, but I thought it was kind of cool. What I really enjoyed about this movie was this world looks and feels lived in. It's 500 years from modern day, and it's 300 years post a big war that they call the Fall. Alita is the last of a particular type of cyborg.
I'm a warrior, aren't I?
It's a fun ride because you see this world is filled with humans and cyborgs, and it's just the norm. But after all this has gone to hell, there's essentially two cities you know about in this world, and one is Zalem, which sounds like a Final Fantasy name, and I'm not mad about it. I think it's pretty cool, actually. And that's the last floating city, or the last great floating city or something. And below that is Iron City, which is where you spend actually all of the movie. The goal, like, people want to go to Zalem. Anybody in Iron City wants to get up there, and there's only one for sure way, and that's to become a motorball champion, and they send you up there. Other people try and get up there by different means, by trying to buy their way up, but there's no documented case of that happening. On the ground, there's no police force anymore. Everything's done by bounty, and they're mostly cyborgs, all called hunter warriors, and basically they are the society's protectors in theory. But of course, they're bounty hunters, so they're corrupt. They just want money. If there's not a bounty, they're not going to help. And then there are the cyborgs who want to take down hunter warriors. It's a solid movie, I think. Do I have faults with it? Probably. This movie is a little too complicated for its own good, I feel like, in some ways. Which is a hard criticism because this takes place 500 years after our time. So to just say that it's overly complicated is kind of weird. They explain what they need to, and leave enough questions for more to come around, because this movie does open up for a sequel. It has a pretty definitive ending, and there is nothing after the credits. And there's not even, like, any credits sequences. The credits are boring. They're just black with white lettering. And that's all it needs to be. That's all credits ever have to be. That's when you pick up and go. So the fact that we as a society now are looking at movies like, what's after the credits? We have to have that little bit more. We don't need that little bit more. That's a bonus treat that has been around for a little while, but really got popularized by the MCU. And when a movie doesn't have it, I'm actually almost relieved that I can just leave. Motorball in this world is kind of strange. It's basically battle roller derby. I guess there's different rule sets. It's not super clear. The biggest thing is getting a ball into a thing on rollerblades. So I'm thinking rollerblades might make a comeback after this movie. Hit me up if they do, because I'm all over rollerblades. I used to grow up on those things. But plot-wise, it reminds me kind of in Legend of Korra. There was the Pro Bending League, and in Final Fantasy X, there is Blitzball, where they're kind of part of the story, and then they kind of fall off. But this one, they make a big deal about Motorball, and it's kind of cool. But the stuff I really liked about this movie was outside of that. It was the bounty hunting stuff. And I think if they had decided to keep this a little tighter, a little smaller, this movie would have been a little better. Like, I don't mind the fact that Motorball is in there, but the fact that they made this one sport the one way to go up to Zalem, which they never actually do in this movie, and I think that's a cool setup for a sequel, because I do like that this movie is a smaller story. I do like that a lot, because this movie is introducing a world, it's introducing characters, it's good, it's solid, it's fun, it's visually very appealing, it's very dirty and gritty, and I think that's great. Whereas I am hoping in the sequel, I'm hoping this movie makes enough to make a sequel. It probably will. James Cameron's movies usually do really well. But I want to see such a big contrast when we get up to Zalem. We know a few characters who were there. They've got a mark on their head. I think it's supposed to be like some sort of almost theoretically a utopia. And I just really want to see the contrast. They gave you nothing, and that's kind of a good idea, to give you nothing so you want to see it. But I guess my biggest complaint is that there's a lot of this battle royale roller derby in there, and it's still kind of cool. I just think there's too much of it, and I'm hoping I don't want it to go away, but I want less of it in the sequel, if that makes sense. Overall, I would say this movie the action is great. I really like the characters, the main ones. I'm not too keen on the boyfriend character. He's fine, but I felt like he was kind of the weak link of the entire movie. Like, I think you could have done this movie almost entirely without him, and it would have been fine. I guess that's a little bit kind of dragging it down for me too. But you have to have a love interest. The female lead is a female lead. She needs her man. But you see a nice relationship between Alita and Christoph Waltz character Dr. Ito. And Vector, the villain, is cool. And the robot bounty hunters are all super cool. I would say if you're in for a good action movie that doesn't have to be world-shattering, groundbreaking, or like too huge of a story, this movie is a little story in a big presentation, and I kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming was. That movie's really, in the grand scheme of things, pretty small, but it's presented so big, and that's kind of what Spider-Man is. Small stories in a big way. And I think that's what this movie is. Small story in a big way. Although, there's definitely big story surrounding this, which I'm looking forward to finding out what it's all about, but I mean, so I was thinking about it, and I walked out of the movie with like that. I enjoyed that movie a lot. I think I'm gonna give it an 8. But thinking a little bit about it, I'm thinking it's probably gonna sit at a 7.5. I think the little things that brought it down were just enough to take it off that 8 podium. So take it as you will. Did you go see it? Are you gonna go see it? What did you think? Why aren't you gonna see it if you're not? Tell me what I should see next, and I will catch you at the movies.
Tonight is not a game. It is a hunt.
Across this new divide.
I'm with her.